There are many reasons to start a business, like following your passions, taking control of your schedule, to be more creative, to not have a boss, to make more money, or to get out of a corporate environment, which was one of my big ones.
Most of us as Christian entrepreneurs felt a type of calling, a pull on our own hearts to really step out and do something for God. We may have thought, this is what God wants, so of course he's going to bless it. And for many of us, that meant that he would bless it financially.
So how do you measure success in your business? Is it the number of new clients, meeting your financial goals, checking off tasks that you completed, or the connections that you're making?
Hey there, wise woman. Today on the Truth in Business show, we are going to be chatting about what success looks like in God's economy and what that looks like and for what reason or reasons that he has you in business. How does God measure success? What reason does God have for you to be in business? We're going to answer those two questions, and we're going to give you a plan, of course, so you can be doing business God's way. I'm DeneenTB.
And I'm Mary Allure.
So join us and find out how you can have a God-centered business by building on his principles for your success. Okay, Mary, I have to start off today with one of my favorite testimonials that we've ever gotten from one of our clients. She said this. She said, "Being and calling clarity has challenged me to grow deeper in my walk with God. I have made some significant progress over the past few months. I believe this is what God is going to lead to success versus just my hard work."
I love that too.
I think Carrie really understands why God chose business as a way to transform her. That's really what it's all about, growing your faith so it fuels your business, right?
Yep, that's what we want everybody to do.
Before we get into the topic today, Mary, I want to remind everybody to subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're watching, and if you're listening on the podcast, The Truth in Business Show, please make sure to follow us right away, give us a 5-star rating, do all the things you do, make comments, whatever.
Yep.
And share the episode.
Please do.
Oh, such great stuff. Okay, let's get into this discussion.
Okay.
All right. So, Mary, we already mentioned that there were lots of different reasons that we get into business.
Right.
Tell me, as you said, not have a boss and the reason that you wanted to get out of corporate. So why did you want to have your own business? What was your goal when you got started?
I wanted to do my own thing and not have a boss. I wanted all those things. I wanted to have my own schedule. I wanted to get out of corporate. I wanted to make more of an impact too. I thought, I have so much more to offer than this little, spot that I've been given on this desk in my office in the big building. I felt like I have so much more to offer than what they have me doing. So that was, one of many. There's so many different reasons, but I really wanted out and to be my own boss.
Yeah. I had been teaching for a long time while I was homeschooling my girls because I had been a teacher prior to that. And so I was teaching Spanish, and I didn't see it as a business, but it was a business. So I think I've always been in business. But I remember the day that I actually went into what I consider business, quote unquote business, because it was a sales job. And it was because God planted it in my head and it wouldn't leave me. And I was like, I don't really want to do this. But, at first, and I don't know about you, but did you also want to make more money than your job could do? Or was money ever a factor for you?
It was a factor after a while. At first, I just really wanted out. I really wanted out from under the corporate, whatever you call it, I don't know, box that I was in.
Yeah.
And then once I got out, then the money became more important. I thought I was going to make, tons of money, and
that's what everybody tells you, right?
That's what everybody tells you. You're going to make 5 figures, 6 figures. And I'm like, what, a year? And they're like, no, a month. I'm like,
Yeah,
what?
For me, the money part was good. Like the teaching job I had while the girls were homeschooled, that paid for little things like piano lessons and dance classes and that kind of stuff. So it wasn't really like about making a lot of money. But then when I went into this sales job, I love the extra money because I got all the perks of being in a direct selling company too, because I got to go on trips and, have a team and all of this stuff. And I was very content just making the money for a while.
Right. And your direct marketing company was at the Mary and Martha. It hasn't changed yet. And so, I mean, you were in the right zone, I would say, too. Yeah. You were selling.
I know, God was definitely like preparing me for what I was going to do next.
Right.
And I mean, I did love the recognition I got. I loved all that stuff. But as you said, you start out one way and then God has a way of shifting us, right, into something else. When do you feel like you shifted your focus of what happened to you? When did you said, oh, okay, I want to get out of corporate. Now I started making money. Was there another shift for you at all?
The shift for me was when I realized that it was more about my faith, growing my faith. That was really the shift for me. And then money became like I kind of laugh at myself now, and I think back and I thought, I thought I was going to make all this money and stuff, but really that's not as important. It is, the important thing is that growing my faith. So I'm so happy that I did this because I have grown in faith. Yeah. And that's the most important thing. Yeah. So
I know for me it was not like a big shift. It was like my next idea, right? Because I had always been in church. I'd always, thought, like I said, God gave me this idea to go into Mary and Martha.
Right.
And yes, it was Christian products. But my big thing was that I was frustrated because I couldn't find the women to buy my products. And I just went to God and I said, what should I do? And I thought it was my marketing plan. Very funny. That, Christian business women that are entrepreneurs, women who are networking. Yeah. That's where I need to be. I need to find these Christian women that are networking. Well, I couldn't find them, so I created my own networking group.
That's amazing. That's awesome. I got to say, I don't know if I would have thought to do that.
And
did God give you that idea or what?
Well, it was someone in Mary and Martha, and they were talking about this group of women, this organization. They were out in California. Of course, we live in Michigan, and they were talking about it, and they were saying, I met all these women in business, and they loved our products, blah blah blah. And I'm like, I need to know where they are in Michigan. Well, they weren't in Michigan. Yeah, they were very, very new, and they only had a couple of chapters. And so I became a chapter head here in Michigan, but I only stayed with them a couple of years because I started to see things. I always have to make everything my own, right? So I started seeing things that I wanted to do, and there were pieces that I really liked and enjoyed about what they did, and other things that I thought that I didn't need to do. Right. And so I kind of did that. But what I really loved was being able to interact with Christian women, because I'd never been in business before. I'd never been in the corporate world, so to speak, because I was a teacher. And I found out that I actually liked the way that business women, entrepreneurs think, and because they thought like me, because I was always an entrepreneur.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say, you said you wanted to make it, you didn't stay with that organization long because you wanted to make it your own. Well, that's your entrepreneurial spirit for sure. I mean, I think that a lot of women who might be listening to this can relate.
Yeah.
Because you have your own ideas and you want to make it your own, and you can see the potential.
Right. I mean, for me, the money, I thought, well, the money will come, right? But success was just really something more. And for me, it is that satisfaction. I feel very significant. Significance is one of my strengths in the Strength Finders. And it doesn't mean that you want accolades, you want to feel significant, but you want that satisfaction, you want that independence, you want to know what you're doing feels feels good for you.
Right.
It's energizing to you. So I think that when God measures success, he's giving you, quote, the desires of your heart. Like he's satisfying some piece of you that money's never going to satisfy. And that's when I think that for me, the big shift happened. Do you think God measures success in other ways, Mary? I don't know. I'm trying to think besides the satisfaction.
Oh, I think that God measures success completely different than us. Completely different than us. Totally. We're in this world, of course, we measure it by money and fame or recognition. But I think God measures it in closeness with him, relationship with him. And for me, one of the big things is peace of mind, peace in your soul, that what you're doing is meant for you and you're doing the right things in the world, making your little splashes of impact.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I think it's the impact, and it's not about, am I making an impact on 2,000 people, but am I making an impact on 2 people, you know?
Right.
And like you said, for me, it's that significance. For you, it's the peace. Everyone has a different reason that God would put them in business, that they would be doing this, feeling fulfilled because they are doing what he's saying. He wants our obedience. I think when we measure the success, when God's measuring our success or with him, it's, are we being obedient to what he's doing? Because what God really wants to do is build our character. He wants us to have better excellence, more consistency, devotion to what it is we're supposed to do. He's building our character qualities. I guess we would call those the personal mastery type of qualities, right?
Yeah.
And he wants us to be aligned with him.
He does.
And we are to make disciples, right?
Exactly. Yes. And we just finished our Bible study on holiness.
That's
and
true.
and he wants us to be holy like him as much as we can. I mean, we will never be like that. But I mean, that's something that we have to be and show in the world to others.
Yeah. I always think about Jesus' last words to his disciples, which are also last words to kind of us before he lifts off back into heaven, was Matthew 28, 18 through 20. And it's what's called the Great Commission. And no matter where we are, whether we're in church, we're on the mission field, we're in the office, we have our own business, we're in the marketplace, we are to really be living out the Great Commission in that we are making disciples. So it's not about how much do I volunteer at church or how much do I do with church activities. It's more about what are my thought processes during the week when I'm doing my business. So I always think about, what does it look like for us then, for you and for me, for everyone listening? Like, as we work our businesses every day, how can we be running a business and making disciples at the same time? It really means that we need to be leading our businesses because God calls us to be leaders.
Yes.
We need to be doing that with godly wisdom.
Right.
This is a big term. What do you think about when you think
Godly
about God's
wisdom.
wisdom?
Well, let's see. That's, I've been in the corporate world a long time and been in different organizations. And when I finally said, this is it, I'm going to do my own thing, I was like, I'm going to do it God's way because I was tired of the ways of the world. So to me, that's what godly wisdom is, to do it opposite of what you're seeing out there, and to do it with integrity and to show up and to help people really serve other people.
Yeah, we hear a lot about being a servant leader.
Yeah.
And I think that, sociologists will tell you, the scientific world will tell you, everybody, psychologists will tell you that people want to belong. People want to feel like they're contributing. People want to feel that they have a part in whatever it is that they're doing. And I think that that's what we can do in our businesses every single day, whether we're doing that for our clients, if we're doing that for our team members, we're doing that for just the people that we're networking with and our other business partners in our referral system, or whatever it is. We're showing up consistently the same way, responding to people in a caring way and not just reacting to all the fires we might have to put out and things like that. I love what 1 Peter 2:9 says. It calls us royal priests, and it says they, and that's those who reject Jesus, they stumble because they do not obey God's word, and so they meet the fate that was planned for them. But you are not like that. I love contrasts. You are not like that. For you are a chosen people. You are royal priests, a holy nation, God's very own possession. As a result, you can show others the goodness of God, for he has called you out of the darkness and into his wonderful light. That's what we just started talking about in our holiness.
Yes, that's
Bible
what
study.
we were in our Bible study. I know, I learned so much from that Bible study.
That's very cool. We kept contrasting the light and the dark.
Right,
and
the light
all
and
that
the
stuff.
darkness.
It's like we're not
yes.
in that anymore. And we have to remember the world is in the darkness. And
Yes.
so we are bringing light. And light always interrupts the darkness, right?
Yep.
So we just love that.
Yeah.
I love the way my editor, my book person, Darren Shearer, he breaks this down in his book, The Christian Marketplace Christian.
Okay. Yeah.
And he says, as a royal priest, that we have different responsibilities about the way we lead in business. As the royal part, we each have the responsibility to provide for and to protect. And then as a priest, we have the responsibility to sacrifice and proclaim. So these are 4 things that we can actually live out in our business.
I know.
When we're doing things God's way, right?
So I got to ask you, Deneen, how do you do the royalty part?
Okay, so this is interesting. The royal part is the providing. So when you're providing for your people, it's, I think, when you give more value than is expected, right?
Yeah, that's good.
I think it's when you use your spiritual gifts in your business because they're spirit infused. You can use them to help others. Some of us have the compassion or helps gifting. Some of us have the not accountability, the administration. Thank you, administration or wisdom, and so we're providing things for those that we lead based on our spiritual gifts. We haven't separated our life and put it in that way because by using our giftings, we're helping others and giving others opportunities to grow themselves. So that's royal. And then protecting the people is definitely, first of all, praying for your people, whether it's your clients, your team. Yeah. You've got to pray for your people, and you need to help them make wise choices. You make wise choices about what you're going to do in your business based on what they need, based on what your clients need. You can't be selfish as a servant leader, right? So part of that royalty is protecting them. You're affirming them and giving them encouragement through your words, through recognition, through actions, right? And speaking God's truth to them so that they have correct biblical thinking. That's all part of the royal part of it, I think. I think what other people think too is that they have to do this like for everybody in the world. And I think we have to bring it back in to God's asking us to do this with our sphere of influence. Yeah. And again, if you can't do it with your 2 people, why would 200 people follow you or 2,000 people follow you? You have to do it small and let it grow because God's growing you at the same time. Yes. Do you see how I kind of do that? We do this in the DTB team?
I do. I see how we do it with the people that God sends us, the women that God sends us, that we start out small. Like even us, we started out small. I can't remember the first amount of people, and we were so happy to have it. And we treat each one the same. That we love on each one, and we want to see them succeed. And of course, again, success is different for everybody, and in God's economy, success is different. So it's part of our job to show them that too.
Right, because a lot of people do come to us with that mentality of, oh, you're a business coach. You're going to help me make four figures a month, or 5 figures a month, or 8 figures a year. And we're not about that.
We're not about that.
We're about doing what God's called you to do. And if God sees fit to bring in money, obviously you're in business. We have to make money. If God's called you into business, if you're not making money, you don't have a business. You have a hobby.
Right.
And so we do realize that. It's just that we don't know what's going on with you and God.
No.
We can only give you so much guidance. And yes, it's working for this person in this way, and for this other person in another way, and for us in a different way. And we have to be okay with that. We have to teach people that they have to be okay with that, because God might be doing a big work in their life that they can't even imagine. And he's using the business model. He's using the Calling Clarity course, or he's using the Calling Clarity community to do that. And we can't ever compare ourselves to anyone else.
We can't. And I think that's one of our biggest challenges. And for me too, personally, like just comparing ourselves. But we have to tell people in the community, like, you're on your own path. You're on your own journey here. You can't compare your results with, so-and-so. Or what's so prevalent, of course, is that people compare themselves to what they see on social media, influencers and everything, and they compare themselves to that. And, of course, you're just looking at highlight reels. That's why in our community, we're very open and honest about our struggles. And we go to each other for help, which is something you can't find when you're scrolling on social media.
No, you cannot find it. So we talked about the royal part.
Yeah.
How do you think, Mary, a priest shows up? How do we show up as a priest? What does that mean?
Well, let me tell you, when I first read this, I did in his book, in Darren Shearer's book, I was like, what? Priest? No, and coming from, I have a Catholic background, I'm like, a priest? Oh no, oh my goodness.
I'm not a priest. I'm not
a priest.
I know. It's so funny. But the two things that the priest does is sacrifice and proclaim. Yeah. So I mean, how do you think we sacrifice in our businesses?
Well, we show, for us, I know that we show up all the time, regardless of what's going on, the circumstances. We show up. We are there for them. And they know they can count on us to be there at the times we told them. We don't change that ever.
Yeah.
And of
even
course,
if we're not at home, we're somewhere else in the world.
We've done it on vacation. You did it in Greece, I think, or I know I did it in Colorado one time. We're kind of crazy that way, but we have to show up if we said we're going to.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And I know that we've had to forgive people that have owed us money. And
yes.
And I was just talking to someone yesterday or the day before, and they were like, why don't you put them in, what is it called when you put somebody in that owes you money? What is that?
Collections?
Collections,
collector?
Yeah. They were like, why don't you just put that in for collection? And I'm like, no, that's not what God's calling me to do.
No.
I believe that the people that come to us, that they should have the integrity, and that they have to deal with that with God. But sometimes we have to do that. Maybe we need to give them more time. Maybe we need to give smaller installments or whatever.
Yeah.
I've sacrificed extra time with people.
Yes.
I've sacrificed that when someone needs it. And really, that's a way of sacrificing for your people, giving up that selfish ambition to just do and help who God's calling you to help.
Yeah.
The other thing is we proclaim, and this goes back to the Great Commission. This goes back to talking about God and sharing God, right?
Right.
And making disciples. And it starts with transparency in our own businesses and really modeling that integrity, making those wise choices, being in relationship with unbelievers, because if we're all around Christians all the time,
right,
we don't have any reason to proclaim.
No, we don't. We're all on the same quote.
Yes, we can grow and strengthen one
Yeah.
another, and that's a good thing, and there needs to be people like that. I think that's what the Calling Clarity community is doing, is helping people to grow in their faith, to dive deep in their faith so that it fuels their business. But really, we want to help people go out
Yes.
and share the gospel, go
Yes.
out and share God's goodness to their sphere of influence. That's really what we're called to do. So that proclaiming is not just proclaiming to the people that are our yes men, so to speak,
Right.
or yes
Right.
women, but it is about proclaiming and having relationships with people that aren't believers, and getting that support from the community to understand, what do I do? How do I
Yeah.
proclaim to people? And that's why we're in business, because if you're in business, you're not going to run into Christians everywhere you go.
No, you won't. No. And you'll have to make wise choices. So we hope to help everybody in this too, because we've encountered some situations, and we've helped others, and we share our stories about
Definitely.
how we handle situations.
Yeah. So I don't know. I know this was new to you when you read Darren's book.
Yeah, it was new to me.
These 4 things. So I'm going to ask the audience, is this new to you? Is this something that you're processing and saying, I'm kind of feeling this shift in my own mind. Like, I didn't realize that this is all the responsibilities I had as a business owner, that God was really calling me to this royal priesthood. Let us know in the comments what you're thinking about. What's popping up for you? What thoughts are going through your mind? You can also email us. I know that's down in the description as well, about any way that God's kind of changing your mind here about how you do business. Always like to hear from you, right, Mary?
Yes. Oh, please. We love to hear from you.
Yes.
Give us your comments and your feedback.
Yeah.
Or questions.
Yes, definitely
Yes.
questions. We are all up for questions, and we will try to give you biblical answers.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
So now we know we should live in obedience to God through our businesses. So let's talk a little bit about how we make disciples. How is that happening? Again, we go back to that Great Commission. But I always say, let's take it a step further. And we have to understand that this is not the Great Commission because somebody else is going to do it. It's a personal Great Commission. Each person has a sphere of influence that nobody else has. I think in networking, they say, 250 people that I don't know, right? So that is like our sphere of influence can overlap with someone's or can be totally different. And we're not called to go help the person over there. We're called to help the person that's in front of us. And it's not about, I think people think it's about standing on some kind of soapbox or street corner preaching. It's really about living your life in a way that is godly in front of other people. How you do your business is godly. The words that come out of your mouth are not biting and cutting and ripping people down, but they're lifting up, they're encouraging, they're being really intentional with all of your actions. And I can hear somebody right now saying, that's a lot of pressure, Deneen. It's not really. If you heard our last episode, we talked about how we can meet with God every day so he can build us, and how that needs to be intentional, so that if we're intentional internally with God, then we will be intentional externally, right?
Right, absolutely. And it really helps you when you're intentional with God, meeting with him daily, it really helps you be intentional with everybody else that you meet throughout your day. And like we just studied in our previous Bible study about the power of our words, that it's so important what we say, and intentionally saying, the right things as much as we can. We're not going to be perfect, but it's so important that we use the right words and use wisdom in our words.
Yeah, and that's something that we can pray to the Holy Spirit for. And before we even react to someone, we can make that quick prayer to say, okay, Lord, I'm upset, but I need to I need to respond in a way that is loving, or I need to respond in a way that is respectful, or I need to respond in a way that you would respond. Help me to see that person the way you do.
Absolutely. I know that sometimes before I get on a Zoom call or a Zoom meeting, I will pray to God, like, God, give me the words to speak here. Not, I don't know there's not anything bad going to happen, but I always say, okay, give me the words, because sometimes things come up and you're like, you might have an opportunity to say something. So you want it to be wisely.
I know, because
wisely.
those things come up. I know one of the things that we're going to be doing one of the things we're doing in the community is the fifth Thursday, when we have those 5 Thursdays in a month, we're going to be doing what we call the clarity, like coming and having some tea. And what we're going to be doing is really looking biblically at some of the hard issues that are in our society right now, in our culture. And I'll tell you, it's a little bit scary that I said, oh yeah, I'm going to answer all your questions.
Yeah. Well, it's scary because everybody's going to have their own opinion. I mean, and yeah.
And all we can do is look biblically.
All we can try, is look at the Bible.
We're going to look at the Bible. And I mean, I have had to say some things that have been very harsh for some people to hear sometimes. But that's where we always want to go. We always want to be looking at the Bible and thinking biblically and pulling everything through that filter of God's perspective, whether we're talking to someone about some big issue in our culture like pronouns, or if we're talking about what God being all loving and what does that really mean, or if we're talking about how we are just not stop swearing. I don't know, there's like all kinds of different things that we need to show up just being who God has called us to be. And it's not that we're perfect. It's that we can admit when we've done something wrong. We can ask for forgiveness when we've done something wrong. We can come to people in a way, I guess, it's really authentic, that's really transparent, and not be hiding behind all this stuff. But I think in what God really wants for us, for our businesses, is to show his goodness, is to make disciples. And that doesn't mean we're going to talk to every one of our unbelieving friends about Jesus. But we do have a way. I have 3 steps that I want to help everybody do. Because I never want to not give anybody a plan for anything that we do. So the first thing is we want to pray, then we want to friend, and then we want to share. If we get the opportunity. The share doesn't always happen, right? So, of course, and you've heard me talk about this before, Mary. It's like I say, pray to God and ask for 5 people that he puts on your heart that are not believers in your life. Now, if you have less than 5, I think you better get out there and make some more friends. But no. But 5 people who need to know Jesus, and just start to pray for them. And whoever God puts on your heart.
Right.
And then out of that, friend, like you might already be friends with them because they're part of your family, or go deeper in relationship with them, right? With just 1 or 2. Excuse me. Not all of them, not all 5, just 1 or 2. Deepen the relationship with that person. It could be a lunch invitation, it could be a coffee meeting, it could be a Zoom meeting. Any kind. It could be a social invite, maybe invite to your house for a holiday. Just start to find out more about that person's life and just become their friend. Just become their friend.
Right.
Then you may get the opportunity to share. If that opportunity arises, tell your story about being in relationship with Jesus. You might be the only Jesus, quote unquote Jesus, this person ever sees. And by building that friendship first, you've gained the opportunity to share your story. Right. We have to really realize Jesus is the good news, and you want to make your friend know that. You would if you got a good deal on a pair of shoes, you would tell your friend, right? It's good news, right? Jesus is even better news than you getting a good deal, right?
Right.
And I love that in our Oikos meetings, that's one of the things that we try to do is help everybody have different ways to talk about their faith story and things like that. Do you remember the 2-word story that we talked about before?
Yeah, the two-word story. Yeah, and people might know about it. It was a couple of years ago when that really went through the churches, and maybe 7 years ago, 8 years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's two-word story. You only need two words to say what life was before God and after
Yeah.
believing. Yeah.
You don't have to have like a speech created that you have to
Yeah.
take it out of your pocket and go, let me open up this big piece
Right.
of paper and read you my story. And actually the two-word story was the same word. The word was
Yeah.
the same. But it was a way to hinge your story. So,
Right.
I believed this before. My word was power. So I was doing everything in my own power before God, and I was doing it in his power after God. And I
Right.
can hang more parts of the story on those two words. And I thought
Absolutely.
that's in a brilliant way, because if they ask questions, then you get more of an opportunity to talk. And if you're living your Christian life in front of people and really being intentional about it, they are going to ask you. They are going to
Right.
ask you.
Right. And there's so much in what you just said. I mean, really, it's like you said, if you pray for the person and then you are truly friends with them, there's so much in there that they're going to see in your behavior that you don't even have to say many words, honestly. You can do your two-word story. Like mine was hope. Like before I had God, I had no hope. And then after, I have hope now. But really, it's how you show yourself and how you're living your life,
Yeah.
and they'll see that, really.
Yeah. Could you imagine what the business world would look like if it was filled with godly wisdom?
Oh my gosh. It would be completely changed, completely. It would be wonderful.
Imagine every believer living out the Great Commission. They're leading their businesses, their lives with provision and protection and sacrifice and proclamation. And that's the reason that they are in business. That's the reason we are all in business, to show Christ to the marketplace.
Right.
Imagine what your own business could look like if, when you follow it and do it for God's reasons, and you take these responsibilities seriously and you obey God. And we talked a little bit about the looking at other people and comparing ourselves. So I always love Galatians 6:4-5. It tells us, pay careful attention to your own work, for then you will get the satisfaction of a job well done, and you won't need to compare yourself to anyone else, for we are each responsible for our own conduct.
Yeah. So true. There's so much in that, like, drop the mic moment.
Yeah, it's so powerful.
It's so powerful.
That is really what God wants for each one of us. Satisfaction in a job well done. I mean, you're going to be the one standing before God one day, and you want him to say, well done, good and faithful servant. You don't want him to say, I never knew you. So do what you're supposed to do, right?
Right.
That's what we get when we obey him. This shift in the reason that we're doing business really translates, I think, into a shift in the focus that we have for our businesses. Because I don't think, and I would think you would agree, Mary, God's not asking us to do more just so we can make more money.
No, I do not think so at all. I know there's people have been like, oh, once I make more money, then I'm going to give more to the church.
That is not true.
God does not need our money.
No.
No.
Because that's not how we do more. We do more by doing the sacrificing, by doing the protecting, by doing all of those other things.
Obedience.
Oh, yes. Our big O word, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. God doesn't need our money.
No.
He wants our total focus on him. He wants
Right.
us to give him more of ourselves.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Did we miss anything? Do we need to say some more stuff
Ooh.
around here?
I don't know. It's a lot.
Maybe it's another day. Maybe it's another
Right.
day. Oh, I would just love to hear from any of you. What
I would
has this
too.
kindled up for you? What's kind of flaming inside of you? And you're going, this is awesome. I really love this. So I would love to hear from you. Make sure, again, to follow us here on the podcast. Give us a review, comment, Subscribe to the channel if you're watching us on YouTube. I'm just satisfied, Mary. So
I am too.
This is DeneenTB.
Yeah, this is Mary Allure.
Have a great rest of your day. And as always, be filled to overflowing.
Bye.